In this presentation, we will take a look at multiple choice questions related to cost volume profit analysis, CVP analysis, taking a look at the questions and test taking skills within them. First question, cost that stays the same in total when there are variations in volume of activity. A, mixed costs. B, curvilinear costs. C, variable costs. D, fixed costs. E, normal cost. Let's go through that again and go through the process of elimination. Cost that stays the same in total when there are variations in volume of activity. So volume of activity is changing, cost is remaining the same in total. And that's going to be a key term, in total. So first we have the mixed costs. So we may not know exactly what the mixed costs are, but the fact that they're mixed might give us an indication that they're not going to be doing one or the other. It might be mixed. So I'm going to say it's probably not mixed cost. Curvilinear cost isn't one of our standard kind of terms that we might think in a normal kind of cost behavior. So I don't think it's going to be curvilinear. Variable costs, that's one of the ones I would typically expect to see in this type of multiple choice questions when we're considering this topic. So I'll keep that for now. The fixed costs, also something that I would expect to see. Those are our two main categories. And then E says normal costs. And normal cost it seems normal. It seems like a reasonable term, but I don't really recognize it in terms of our topics so far. So I'm going to cross it out and say it's probably either the main two, variable or fixed costs. Let's go through it again. Costs that stay the same in total when there are variations in volume of activity. That's either variable or fixed. Well, we're going to say that's going to be fixed costs. So that means that as things change, something like the rent, things change, the rent remains the same. Be careful when you consider these type of costs because they could ask a similar question, which would be a little bit different in that if we had the fixed cost per unit or the cost per unit would actually remain the same. So if we're talking about variable costs, in other words, the cost per unit remains the same as we produce more units because the cost per unit is what it is, whereas the fixed cost per unit will actually go down as we create more, as we make more units. So keep in mind that the key term is total here. So we're talking in total. As volume changes, the fixed costs remain in total. If we were talking about the per unit cost that we would apply out to each individual unit, the answer may vary, may differ. Next question. A cost that changes in proportion to changes in volume. A, standard cost. B, fixed cost. C, mixed cost. D, variable cost. E, normal cost. We'll go through it again using the process of elimination. A cost that changes in proportion to changes in volume. First one, standard cost. That sounds like a standard kind of term we would expect to see, but it's not one that we've been using much here, so I don't think it's going to be standard cost. Fixed cost is going to be B. That's going to be one of our normal terms. We'll keep that. C says mixed cost, and it's probably not mixed again because it sounds like it's one or the other. D says variable costs. That's one of our standard terms. We'll keep that. And E says normal costs. That's not one of the normal terms we use. It sounds good, it sounds normal, but it's not one of the terms we typically would be using, so it's not going to be E. Usually we'll be looking for, oftentimes, the fixed costs and the variable costs when we're considering managerial accounting, cost, volume, profit analysis. Let's go through it again. A cost that changes in proportion to changes in volume. And again, it doesn't say total here, but we're implying total in this. And so the costs that are going to change in total with relation to changes in volume will be the variable costs. Again, if we talk about per unit, it gets a little bit tricky because the per unit cost will remain the same no matter how many units we make when we consider the variable costs, which is a little bit strange. But when we think about the total variable costs, which is where it basically gets its name, the variable costs will change as production volume goes up or down, whereas total fixed costs will remain the same. These are our two major components for CVP analysis. We would expect to see at least one or two questions related to fixed costs and variable costs in any kind of examination or any kind of testing related to this topic.